I had a experience in the mountains that gave me a little bit of a feeling for this. I had taken two friends from England high up on the Grouse Ridge, and it was early spring, so snow covered the whole terrain, and things looked different in the snow. And I went off the wrong ridge instead of the one that led to my car. And I was walking along, and after a while I realized that I was going the wrong way, but I was too far down into the canyon, and I was walking on snow, and I knew I needed to get below the snow line in order to stay warm somehow. And I knew that I was okay, because if I kept on going far enough, I would hit the freeway. You know, I didn't know how far. But it kind of reminds me when they asked Daniel Boone if he'd ever been lost before, and he said, "No, I've been in Might Bewildered a few weeks, but never been lost." Because he knew which way the Mississippi River was. Well, I wasn't quite in Daniel Boone's category, but I didn't know if I would make it that night, but I knew I would by the next morning. And I'd had experience of being lost before, and I knew the importance of being calm. And so I just started chanting to God and just thinking of God. And I got below the snow line. I thought, well, let me keep going. And it was turning into dusk. And then I could just sort of barely see when I came to a big lake. And I saw two fishermen out on a boat. And I could have called to them to ask where I was, but by this time, I was just feeling so joyful inside, and just this feeling of peace, that I didn't want to leave that peace by yelling really loud. So I figured that everything would be fine, and I walked around the lake, and I got finally to a small cove, and it was started to be pitch dark, but I could see a fisherman just across the far side of the cove. And I asked him, this time I could speak calmly, and I asked, "What lake are we at?" And he said, "Spalding." And so I knew where I was. I was about 11 miles from my car. And, and so I went around the cove, and by this time it was pitch black, and I was sort of shuffling with my feet, walking, trying to feel for the road and that. And then out of the darkness, the fisherman said, why don't you know the name of the lake?" And then I explained that I'd come down the wrong ridge, and this is quite a ways to go. You've got some pavement, but then you have maybe 6 miles of very rough, rocky road to get to the top. And so the fisherman's friend, he was with two others, they didn't want to take me up to that far. It was late at night. I think it was probably 9 o'clock or something, 9:30, something like that. And so I was sitting in the back seat, because he got me in the back seat, and they were discussing whether they're going to take me to my car or not. And by this time, I was just feeling so joyful, just that I didn't want the night to end. You know, the longer the night went, the more I was hoping for, because I was just feeling just this bliss of just being in the present moment. Nothing else mattered. That was what was most important. And so they went back and forth, and finally they decided to take me up to the top of Grouse Ridge and I got on my car and came home. And it was just a very interesting experience, because I don't live that way all the time. The saints do, though. They're just in the moment, just perfectly, and nothing pulls them out of that moment.